Hi. Today I'm going to read some more poetry, one of my grandfathers and a couple of mine. But I want to also talk about when your parents pass or someone close to you pass and you have to go through their things, get rid of things, and some of you won't have to do that. Depends on your relationship with your parents, etc. But some of us who have to go through this, it's never really talked about, I find, and it's all thrown on you with, while you're grieving, and you have to deal with, going through these things, which can be nice, but it is so difficult. And I have a real hard time throwing away some things that meant a lot to my parents. And so I take it on. I don't have room for all this stuff, but I take it because I feel like if I throw it away or sell it, it's erasing them somehow. Maybe down the road I will be able to deal with it better, but it is a trying time. So, but I just don't think it's spoken about at all because it's about death and people don't want to talk about death. But I really think that if more of us talked about it, it might be easier to deal with. And I was actually talking to a good friend of mine this morning about, people dying, and you read in the newspaper they died way peacefully with their loved ones. It wasn't my experience. It wasn't like my mother had. It was an awful, awful, awful death, and to candy coat this, I think it is a disservice to all of us. Yes, some people just do kind of drift off into, dying. And my dad had a better death than my mother. It was awful. So just saying that, I just wish people would talk about it more so it's not such a shock when all this happens. Anyway, so I have going through this stuff, for instance, there's like a box of baby teeth of my brother and mine when we lost our teeth that my mother saved. I mean, what do you do with that? I don't know. It's like throw it in the box, to bring it back. But there was great stuff I found too, like more of my grandfather's poetry. It's like a ton of this stuff. And initially I wanted to make a poetry book for all my relatives, taking pictures and then getting it made into a book, but it would cost too much. And so I'm really at a loss to what to do with all these. These are fantastic, and I want to share it with my family. But saying that, I'm going to read one of my grandfather's poems that I came across, and his wife, my name's Catherine. I'm named after her. Her name was Catherine, but she was also called Katie. But he wrote this poem. I'm not sure who or what it's about, but it was a little, eye-opening. And I will read it and see what maybe you think. Mind you, my family was very, there was no sexual things or anything in our family. It was very, waspy in a way, upbringing. But anyway, so this poem's called Katie. There she stood nude, without a stitch, on the lawn for all to see. Don't ask why I was concerned. How could this possibly be? We have lived together. Wait a minute, I must think this through. For the years fly so fast, I confuse the old with the new. Oh yes, it was shortly after the war that we accidentally met. But when I started to court her, she played coy, hard to get. But I learned to love her dearly while she spun her web around my life. I came to cherish her very presence. We were inseparable, come storm or strife. Yet there she stood, naked as the hour she was born. I felt the blush coming to my face. As I stood in astonishment, bewilderment, why had she fallen from grace? I walked up to her very slowly and put my arms around her neck. Then we walked back to the barn and I fed her, I imagine, about a peck. So I assume it's a cow, but he's he's making like it was my grandmother at first. And I believe it's about a cow, not my grandmother standing naked in the lawn. I just thought that was funny. Anyway, then I wrote a poem yesterday, and just maybe it means more to my family than anybody else, but I'll read it anyways. It's about this paperweight that was always on my dad's bureau, and it's heavy, and it has little dots of glass in it, so I wrote this poem. It's called Father Mystic. I never thought my father was a mystic, but there was a glass globe on his dresser, a paperweight with little glass bubbles inside. Sometimes I would walk by and pick it up and look through it to see if I could see the mysteries of the world revealed in these tiny glass bubbles. Once I saw the moon laughing at a cluster of dancing stars. Another time I saw my mother as a young girl milking a cow on their farm, and if I turned the globe upside down, many times I could see my grandmother baking a shoe fly pie. Whenever I did this, I'd quickly flip it back up to watch my brother and me sled down a snow-covered hill over the fields where my grandfather grew hay. And only on special occasions, when I held it towards the window and the light was just right, we were all sitting on the back of a buckboard, slowly riding up the hill, sampling the spring water and snacking on wild strawberries under the old oak tree. I never thought my father was a mystic. So, and then I wrote the other day, I've been writing a lot of poems lately. I don't know. I'm in this mood. Haven't been working on Wheeltown, so I have to always work on something. This one is called Busy Beast. Oh, what life feebled in me, taking the broken branch to the dried out twig. I now lean on this as if a third leg, watching a trail of ants march to their kingdom of kings and queens. I follow them, those busy beasts, follow the parade to their palace, I adorned in heavy velvets of crimson, my head encircled in a crown of gold. I left my staff in a wallowing well. And the last two I'm going to read you is ones that I've written before and I think I've read before, but I like them, so I'm going to just close with these two. This one was called What If I Had Wings? What if we had wings? What if we had wings? How fun would that be? Mine would be made of ermine and poetry, my body wrapped in a long black feathered dress, its tail falling only so far as to brush a star. My cat rides on my back, wearing a crown of mouse bones, draped in a bat skin cape. We would fly all the way to Persia. We would dabble in spells, draw runes on our eyelids so we can see farther, beyond the oceans, beyond the mountains. My cat is the navigator. She's the clever one. We would land in Morocco, dine with princes and princesses, they dazzling us with their flying carpets, then off to India to live with the gurus and spirits. We would dress in saffron silk saris and wear golden bracelets that clattered in the wind. Oh, what magic this life holds. And the last one is called Queen of Heaven Sent. She wrapped herself in an embroidered coat of beasts and eternal gardens, and with each step as she entered the woods, a kingdom rose from her feet. A long trail of paper word crumbs slowly dripped from a hole in her pocket, leaving behind all the words she wished she never said. Songbirds scurried after her, pecking up these paper crumbs and hopping gingerly round the kingdoms as they sung. For the birds created words of love from these paper words of discontent, and they crowned their lady a queen, their queen of heaven sent. So that's it. I hope everybody's having a nice spring, and hopefully I'll be back with more Wheeltown stuff. I'm just taking a little break right now. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.